Hello, welcome to another Burgundy with Tweedy video on this pleasant spring early evening. It's a Saturday. Can you see my cherry blossom? Oh, I'm probably in the way, aren't I? I'll perhaps get my phone out and do a bit of footage of that. Little cherry tree, non-edible cherry tree that's there just for the blossom. It lives in that little rusty metal bucket. Anyway, none of that relevant to today's wine. This is a producer I have featured before, Bichot. Can't remember where that one was from last time, but this producer seems to be quite widely available online. I think for a while Amazon were stocking this particular producer's Gevrey Chambertin, and I've possibly also seen it online in places like Ocado from time to time and or Waitrose. This was a birthday present from a friend, Bichot's Gevrey Chambertin. It's the 2016 vintage. I think it might have been a 2017 possibly that I reviewed before, can't remember. I'll put a link to, is that going to be that way? Or I recall it being quite sort of black curranty. I think it was one of those kind of Gevrey Chambertins. But let's see what the 2016 has to offer. In fact, this even says Waitrose Limited on the back. So yeah, I can just about figure out where my friend got it from. Probably, yeah, Waitrose seller or something like that online, I imagine. So that colour is somewhere in the middle. Nice sort of sheen to that sort of glossy, slightly translucent ruby kind of colour right in the middle there. Nice and sort of bright in a way, but deep coloured. That first nose before any swirling is aroma that always somehow reminds me of icing sugar. It isn't. It must be something I associate with icing sugar, like some sort of cake decoration like glacé cherries or something like that. I have this mental association with icing sugar, but I'm pretty sure with a bit of a swirl some fruit will emerge. Yeah, and now I'm getting a nice kind of warm cherry sort of aroma, a sort of cherry compote. Cherries that, yeah, have been sort of warmed through somehow, slightly cooked. Again, something that, you know, makes me think of desserty sort of, maybe glacé cherries there, and I just can't quite get away from icing sugar, sort of odd allusion to icing sugar. Perhaps I'm thinking of kind of Bakewell tarts, something like that. Those ones with the Mr. Kipling's Bakewell tarts with the layer of icing and the little cherry on top. And beyond that, I think there is again a darker fruit backdrop to that. So probably there's something like blackcurrant, maybe even a hint of blackberry, possibly dark plum as well. Yeah, it's a nice nose, fruity and slightly desserty, I would say. On the palate, still some fruit there. On the slightly drier side, I wouldn't say it's abundantly fruity, but sort of a dry expression of some of those aforementioned fruits. Bit of cherry, possibly a bit of blackcurrant. Pretty soft in terms of the tannins. Quite a nice mouthfeel actually, sort of relatively smooth, relatively silky, or pebbly almost. Sometimes a sensation, I get that sort of smoothness when a wine is also slightly hard. There might be some slight savoury notes, but not a huge amount. It's basically a sort of dry expression of that fruit. And I'm not really getting much of a tannic sensation from that, which is great. I don't particularly want it. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So fruity, but also dry. There might be now the slightest suggestion of something like licorice in the background there, which sometimes goes hand in hand with tannins. I'm still not really picking up much tannin-wise. Nice, sort of straightforward in a way, but not unpleasantly so. And I think I will enjoy that with tonight's dinner, which for the record is shepherd's pie, so it matters. Yeah, cheers.